Good day. I'm Guillermo de Cervantes. I am the Seneschal of South Keep, the Shire of South Keep here in Trimaris. This meeting was initially inspired by the Southern Shires to try to find ways of improving our society and our culture and our community. And a project that we've been working on for a few months has been the inspiration for this meeting. But we felt it would benefit if we opened the conversation up not just to the seneschals of the Southern Shires, but to anybody that wanted to come participate. So I welcome all of you to our gathering. Maybe it would be good if we introduce ourselves. Let's start with that.
Where do you want to start? Okay, I'll go ahead. I'm Baroness Damara Narissa. I've been in the society for 50 years. Uh, I'm the current seneschal for Trios up in the northern end of the South Shires. Next.
Awesome.
I'm Lasta Kudelka, and I've been in SCA for over 20 years. I'm currently Art Prime Minister of Shire of Sangre del Sol and stepping up as a Seneschal of Sangre del Sol.
Huzzah.
And also a Trimaris Kingdom Artside Deputy for I Did a Thing monthly Artside Challenges.
Marie?
I am Lay Marie MacPherson, DEIB officer for the Shire of Trios. I've been in the SCA for 23 years, coming up on 12 of that with Trimaris July 31st.
Dolores? Perhaps she's away from keys. My role, I was recently elevated as, I guess that's the right word, as Baron, a court baron, and I am also the Kingdom Artside Deputy of Dance. And so we're all here
What
to,
about Kelly? She hasn't
yes,
introduced
Kelly.
herself.
I'm Lady Akna. I'm coming back from about 25 years hiatus. Former Artsci officer, former seneschal, and I'm actually really looking forward to going active again.
Wonderful. We
Mhm.
need we need more people like you.
I've always lived in Sangre, by the way, so Sangre is my home.
In fact, Kelly is a big part of what has inspired us to work on this as a topic and as a project,
Mhm.
because there are many people that have left the society, and we kind of wanted to explore why they left and explore what would it take to bring them back and how we can keep the people that we currently have in the society because we want the society to continue for many, many decades in the future. And to do that, we just sometimes we need to look at ourselves with an honest, fearless look in the mirror so we can do the work that we need to do to try to make this a better place. So I'm going to share screen. What we've been working on as a project is a list of questions. We've played with the idea of using it as a survey. Um, but we're still kind of brainstorming. And if as we go along, if any of you maybe think of a question that is in the spirit of exploring the society and how ideas of how we can keep people or exploring, how people feel about the society. If you have any suggestions of questions that we're not covering, feel free to speak up. But my inspiration this morning was to try to do this a little bit differently. Let's try to answer some of these questions. We've been working on editing and improving the questions, but why not actually explore some of these questions ourselves? And so I'll ask a question, and if anybody feels like they want to share their thoughts about the question, or if they want to share their experiences, is that okay with everybody?
Sounds great.
Yeah, that's fine.
Treat it like a dry run, from the core. So
Yeah,
the
that's a good idea.
so the first one we have is, what do you or what did you enjoy most about the SCA?
It was a break from the mundane.
I can relate to that big time. It's kind of like an escape.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
It's
It,
all, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
Uh, it's also a place where you can find people with like minds and like interests.
Hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I second that. Definitely find the find people who are interested in the same thing as you are. But beyond that, building a community with those people, and it's a found family for me.
That's true too.
And we have a wonderful tradition that I try to hold true when newcomers come around and they feel like they notice that they're meeting their own people. And they feel like they're all the people that they should have known all their lives are here. And we have that tradition of telling them welcome home.
Yep.
And which is a beautiful moment, when somebody says that to a newcomer. I witness an experience with them when it's like a peace washes over them. It's a beautiful thing. Back to the idea of escape. There have been times in uh, where things were going on in the world and the mundane world, the muggle world, where I felt, very upset or stressed, but coming to an event was the escape from that experience. And it was like a breath. I could breathe, I didn't feel the pressures of the politics or the news or whatever's going on. Coming to an event felt it was more than an escape. It felt like a release. And so that was a beautiful thing too. Because we're not talking about real world stuff, at an event. We're kind of stepping into another world when we come to an event.
I can
Uh,
agree with I can agree with you on that with Gabe because I definitely felt that going to Gulf Force this year with everything that was going on with Sue and politics, it gave me a chance to step away from all of that for that 1 week and just
Breathe.
be in the moment and just enjoy my family and my chosen family and my friends and just the experience of forgetting about being Jen Zakowski for a week and all my stresses just to be Lady Marie MacPherson.
And let go a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, like I don't check news at Penzic, and for my new and for my news obsessed friends, I tell them only tell me if a war has started somewhere, and that's the level of interruption I will accept because that kind of happened twice while I was at Penzic. That was not fun, but yeah.
um, on this note and this question, it kind of plays into something I've been thinking about recently. because I've talked to some other people, and one of the big things that I hear in is the statement, the SCA isn't what it used to be. Okay. So, this part of that question, what did you enjoy most or about the SCA, I think is something we need to know from these people. That's a very general statement. There are some things that change out of necessity that we can't really change back. Okay. Those things have to do with changes in law and changes in things that happen in society where we have to conform to societal laws and protecting our group, as in with liability issues and other people whose sites that we use. But there are things that maybe we can change to bring things back. Um, you're talking about liking to go to events and getting away from it all. That's become harder right now for some things that we can't change, like the cost of sites and how far away we have to travel for sites. And I think possibly for some people, the fact that most of the events are going closer to being essentially one day, and the length of time they have to take to get there makes it harder for them to experience that totally being away from the stress of daily life.
Mhm.
Okay. So I just wanted to bring that up since we were talking about this. And this question is not just about the things we liked, but what is missing that we liked in the past.
Well,
Okay.
I think the change of venue, the current change of venue for us
Mhm.
is certainly an obstacle. Um, I am blessed with a job that allows me freedom, but not everybody is so lucky. And so I travel 2 days for a 1 day event.
Mhm.
I travel 1 day to get there, then you have the
Mhm.
event and 1 day back.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that. But not everybody can do that. And that's certainly an obstacle.
Mhm.
I gotta stop being able to go to a lot of events now that John and Savannah are moving because John, I would travel with him, and there's not a lot of people from Southern Shires who go to events. That there's nobody else I can really carpool with effectively.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I will be after TRU. I don't even know when I'm next going to be able to go.
Mhm.
I'd love to go to Coronation, which is Trimaris 40th, but I don't know how to get there.
Mhm.
Well, there is a chance, just so you know, Laska, that Anise and I will be going to that. So if we can find a way to get you this far north,
Yeah,
we may be able to take you. I don't know. Anise is out of town. I'm kind
yes.
of monitoring for when that's going to show up on ePay because it's going to be quite a journey for us as well. Um, and it's a lot further north. So I'll we'll keep that in. I'll tell Anise and
Thank
we'll keep that in mind.
you.
Uh,
Dad is getting very testy about, doing like a 3 hour round trip to drop me off. And
I can understand that.
Well,
um,
but it is real, and it is good that we are speaking about what's real, and it is painful for some people. Uh,
the other reality I want to mention here is not just about some people have jobs that can allow them to do that, which I've been blessed with, but to some degree, but that's changed. There are a lot of things changing and are going to be changing for people here over the next couple of years that we don't even know what changes and what is going to affect people. But also, as you get older, and sometimes it's those long journeys that she's just mentioning about her father not really being as comfortable driving for those distances. We have members that are the same, that are older. They're not as comfortable with driving, or they don't have the funds. And the expenses for the events have definitely are a long way from what they used to be. And part of that we can't really change either because of the cost for the sites and the insurance and all the things that have to do with putting on events. But in comparison to a lot of type of events, like cons, for instance, we're still a lot cheaper than they are. But we do have people who financially just, or because of age and discomfort of traveling long distances or in heavy traffic, it becomes an issue for them as well. So local things or more local things are going to be important to those people to keep connection. And not all of those people as well are comfortable with doing things online all the time
And
because they're
local things can be loosely defined as local to your shire or local to neighboring shires.
exactly, so this is one of the things that goes into the changes in the SCA, not just culturally, but by over years, how things change within society. Because we are, after all, a part of society. We have a cross section of society in our group.
There's one constant in life, and that
Mm,
constant is change.
right.
And the best we can do is try to flow and move with it as best as we can.
Mhm.
I mean, there was a time where elves were a thing in the SCA, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
then we changed from that. And so, it's an interesting history that I've learned about.
Mm,
All right, let's go on to the next question. If you are a former member, so Kelly, let's hit you up since you're coming back. If you're a former member of the SCA, what can we do to entice your return? So, what was it that brought you back to us?
What brought me back? I have a deep nostalgia for the camaraderie and the creativity that was in my life because of the SCA during the time that I was in.
Mm,
And I am not completely retired now, but I don't have to work 80 hours a week anymore. So I have more free time and I'm looking for that feeling of home again.
mm,
Um, Looking back at that time period, there was always something going on.
mm,
We had a Bardic circle every other week. We had fighter practice every week. We had sewing circles that were also, for lack of a better term, gossip sessions, but the only gossip you were allowed to spread was for your persona, like what was going on in your persona's time period as far as gossip. We made it a rule that we couldn't even talk about kingdom gossip, Trimarian gossip, because, that's not really going to go anywhere. So,
or it could go simpler that you don't want it to go.
exactly. So there was always something going on. It was always kept positive. There was never any mundane politics or anything like that brought in.
hmm And that's kind of
Um,
it's kind of an unspoken rule. you know?
Yes, but you occasionally have members who have a hard time staying on topic. And you just kind of have to subtly redirect them. But
Mhm.
sometimes you can try really hard and it doesn't work.
Kelly, the things that you're describing kind of referring back to question one and my reason for being in the SCA and why the things that I enjoy most about the SCA, you're hitting on the reasons that you want to come back. Um,
Right.
you know,
We had a lot more fighters back then.
well,
So,
well, not just about fighting, but artistically. Not well, even beyond that. I feel like in the mundane world, every place we go, we have to be a part of ourselves. We can't be ourselves. When I go to work, I have to put that hat on
right.
and be that person. When I go here, I gotta, if I'm with certain people, you have to be, you're kind of fitting in with that crowd. And the SCA is the only place where I felt like I could be my total self. I could be
Yeah.
I could be
Yeah,
artistic. I could be a leader. I can be a fighter. I could be all of me in the SCA.
there's a it's almost like freedom and a pseudonym. You can channel all that you are
Hmm.
in this creative persona that you strive to be the best you could be in.
Hmm. And also in line with that, what Kelly's describing is that the SCA gave me a motivation and inspiration to create and to be better and not just as a person, but artistically. It gave me a reason to work my craft, to work on a scroll. It gave me a reason
Right.
to make something, to get together to dance, to teach people how to dance so we can go and do a show at a nursing home, It gave a purpose to the things that I like to do, not just doing it because I like it, but I had a purpose, a reason.
Anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah. One through the SCA, one thing I used to, and I've always loved to do, is helping others, being of service.
Oh,
Um, I did all the service organizations in high school, key clubs, student councils, student environmental association. When I found the SCA, it gave me the opportunity to continue my love of helping people, whether it's helping out a day board, helping out retaining, watering fighters, and I enjoy that. So it's definitely helped me with my passion of being of help and service to people.
Thank you for all of that.
Well, one thing I'd like to add is with the change. We talked a little bit about earlier of change of larger society and changes in SCA. We as organization are working on that's when modern politics do intrude, and SCA is committed to upholding the standards of inclusivity and standards of uplifting every member.
Hmm.
Um, but sometimes those are the politics which do intrude.
Which I think leads us to the question number three. What barriers can we help you to overcome that have prevented you from returning to the SCA? Well, this is kind of to that person that's not currently here. This is asking that person that Kelly used to be. Kelly, did you feel like there were any barriers preventing you from coming back? Or was there anything that you had reservations about before you came back?
I didn't have any reservations about coming back. Uh, Really, it was just real life, just the mundane got in my way. I got divorced. I went to work full time and started a business, and I was homeschooling, and just real life stuff got in the way.
Time.
Yeah.
Question. If SCA had, uh, I know in the just past like 10 years, SCA committed to doing a lot more children activities, to where a parent doesn't have to come to an event and just babysit it the entire time. To where we have a lot of people who pass the background check, to where you can leave a kid with in a class for an hour with designated background checks adult, and go take a class for yourself. Is it something that is advertised enough? Is it something which we're talking enough to that we ease that kind of burden for the people who step away to raise their kids?
I don't think that it's a burden for larger events, okay? In that most of the kingdom events or the wars have very well organized things. In smaller groups and smaller areas, it might be more like it was in the past. If a group was big enough to have a minister of children, then but all the rules, of course, changed for varying reasons over the years from that. I think with the smaller groups, it's harder to provide those things, particularly when we're in a position in the Southern Shires right now where we're having a hard time just having enough people to hold your main offices that you have to hold. So it may be less accessible in a smaller local situation.
Yeah. Well, last couple of times when we held ex opus uh, um event on our own as a shire, we we got somebody from outside who just spent a whole day doing kids activities, who was the who was a children's minister from a different part of a state, who was background checked, and
Sure.
so
That's
we're
always a
saying we
possibility.
try to do that. Sarah Becker right now is stepping up
Yes.
as Trimaris minister, and she's close enough to Southern Shires to where if we
Yeah.
coordinate with her early enough, she loves doing children's activities. She loves running classes. She's very,
That will work for local events that are held. Um, it's like I said, but just for small shire gatherings, that might not be an option.
Well, we down in South Keep, myself and two of our fighters, because of youth combat, we got
Mhm,
clearance.
mhm,
And Cornelius, who is a father, is will be our I guess, youth minister for Exopus. He's going to
mhm.
be doing youth activities,
Okay, that's cool.
and
That's cool.
it's something he wants to do because he
Mhm.
has a son. You know,
Yeah.
but I do echo what Lady Laska is mentioning, because I've also witnessed him struggling
Mhm,
because as a father, he's taking care of his son and he looks longingly to the list field,
mhm. Absolutely.
He wants to
Absolutely.
do certain things, but he can't because he's got to be a dad and
Mhm,
he's got to make sure his son's right. And
mhm,
so having those classes and opportunities or that support, I guess, it can be a barrier. Uh,
mhm. Sure.
for some, certainly. Can you guys think of any other barriers that we might need to consider or explore?
we definitely need to advertise to new members that we can, we have ways to minimize costs. a lot of events do a comp, like a price of admission out of the shires, first to the first time attendees. We need to advertise that we do have Gold Key, that we can outfit them head to toe and give them, um, feed gear to use and whatnot. That the 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 kind of financial help for the beginners, and once somebody starts, developing persona, we should definitely, like, as a chatelaine, I have, say, a lot of fabric, a lot of trim that was donated to me, and I have the sewing skills, so I can help somebody create their own garb practically for free,
Mhm.
Now, there's also the Kingdom group that Duchess Maisie has for focused on fighters, which is Adopted Jock, which she has a whole site for. If you have new fighters that need tabards and stuff, they can put up their there's a form they can fill out on her site with various, you know, places for measurements, and they can ask for someone to help them with making them a tabard or whatever. So that would also be good to have as a resource in places where people can find it.
Well, I have a new fighter that he lives in Key Largo. He
Mhm.
hasn't been in the SCA for 5 years, so he's just coming back. Right.
Mhm.
He used to live in Texas, and now he has to rebuild everything.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
needs clothes, he needs feast gear, he needs everything. And so I guess it might be advisable for a shire to have not just gold key, but also feast gear available for people that don't. Even at an event, it might be a good idea to have extra feast gear for.
Yeah, I include feed gear as it's mine. It's part of a Gold Key, but Gold Key
Mhm.
belt, not just clothes, belts,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some pouches, there's feed gear, and we might think about, a lot of us accumulate stuff over the years, like upgrade our kit. We might even set up a Gold Key donation to where we don't just let people borrow it. Like, as, as His Majesty gives out a mug to every newcomer, we might, you know, just give those things away as a welcome to the SCA. Here's a mug, and like, here's a feed gear set.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do as just a person, when I go to an event, I always bring two sets of feast gear, because ultimately there's always somebody that forgets something, or a new person who came that didn't know they needed to bring something. So that's also something too, that we can do individually, that can help. And if we bring something that's, I always have this rule, I don't give something to somebody unless it's something I would keep. And so to make sure whatever we have that we're either giving to somebody or allowing them to borrow if they don't want to keep it, is that it looks nice, and
Oh,
it's something that you would want to have, and that they would feel proud to have.
Mm-hmm.
over the past 2 years, since I'm in charge of a Gold Key, I've been, just whenever I have free time, I pull out a tunic, and I not only make sure it's, nice and fixed and clean and whatever. I put nice trim on it. That I
Sure.
I I sometimes redo the seams when I make it attractive.
Yeah. Well,
Upgrade.
and I'm sure you do. I'm just saying that if I'm bringing this up as a thing for other people to think about, that when we're sharing or giving, that it would be something that we would want to use and wear ourselves. Okay. Because I've seen people who didn't do that. Even I'm the same way when it comes to donating things to charity. If it's not something I would wear or use because it's not in good, doesn't look good or nice, and I don't give it to charity. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it's not a trash pile. It's
exactly.
lighting.
Because a lot of times people, they're good-hearted, and if they're leaving the SCA, they'll donate a whole bunch of stuff to your local group. We've had people donate, and the Shire ends up collecting all this stuff, and then ultimately probably some of it we should have just like gotten rid of, and somebody didn't go through it thoroughly. So I'm just bringing that point up, that it
Oh,
should.
it's a good point. We actually did that with our with, when we was chaplain. We all got together, had a work day, and
Mhm,
we went through entire goals. He got rid of the stuff which
mhm.
you know we would
Sure.
be ashamed to share, and worked and started working on embellishing it and making it something people would be not ashamed to wear, something people would be excited to wear at their first
Right.
event.
Sure.
So, what do local officers need to do to ensure the best experience for members?
Okay, so that would also be okay.
Local or kingdom level? I think that one of the things that I'm challenged with, as Kelly alluded to, and we all struggle with, is life and time distracts us from our roles, and each officer has a role to play in the community. And sometimes it's hard to do that because of life and time and work and family but I think it's a struggle as a seneschal to inspire my team, my officers, to encourage them to be active in their role in the community and have an identity so that if they're a herald, like we have honorable lady is Isabella, she's a name herald,
Mhm,
and having her meeting with people and talking about what her role is with the community, or if we have a chronicler, are they out there and taking pictures and gathering resources from the community for the newsletter? Are we fulfilling the roles that we have to the community? And in fulfilling the roles, that's what we contribute.
mm. Okay, so there are some things where we can all help our officers, like because again, not everyone can get to every event. Okay, and some of us get to events, but some of us are not oriented to be behind a camera all the time, taking pictures because we want to be more in the moment
Mhm.
of the event. And so it was kind of talked about. We were trying to figure out how to solve this problem when it came to our website and taking pictures at events for that very reason. Because, of course, stepping behind a camera is taking you out of the moment in the event. Okay. Um, so I don't know. What have you guys got for suggestions for that? Because a camera
Well,
a camera phone in my hand didn't exist for a lot of my SCA career. Okay. And there were people who were cool and ran around with the little disposable cameras, which didn't take very good pictures. Okay. But it's there are people who are more oriented to that and people who aren't. But yet, even people who aren't oriented to that are still participating and doing other things that are bringing flavor to the event. So I always forget my camera's
I
sitting here in my pocket where I can't see it because I don't want to.
I think every event's gonna have a shutterbug at it. Like I'm a shutterbug. I love taking tons of pictures because it's like it's my happy place to if I'm feeling down, I'll look through an event pictures and be like, oh, I remember that cool moment. So I think maybe making sure that pictures get posted after the event. Maybe that each event website has like a part of a web page saying please submit the pictures you took at this event,
Mhm.
something like that.
I,
Or
I
I,
think before an event, it's important that you have the discussion
mhm.
of who's going to be the shutterbug. I don't think leaving it to chance is a good way of making it happen. I think if some people are agreed to, because that is a service.
Mhm.
It is a service because it can take you out of the moment in some cases. I when I first joined the SCA, I was the shutterbug, and now I don't have time to be the shutterbug because I'm busy. And the only way I see is to have the conversation before the event or before the activity that you need pictures. And so some people are looking for who can do the pictures for this event, ask for volunteers ahead of time so that, there is a social media officer, which I believe is would be the deputy under the web minister for a shire. A social media officer would be in charge of posting to Instagram and posting to Facebook. But without that being an option, because we don't have a lot of people to fill all these roles, just say, hey, who could take pictures for this coming event? We need a volunteer.
Well, my understanding of the kingdom's social media person was to be up on all uh, the rules regarding social media, making sure that people were getting um, their permissions to share those things on websites and stuff. Not so much posting those things. And if you look at most of the things that get posted on Kingdom websites and Facebook about events are being posted by the people who are taking them.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
yeah, um because I submit to Triskel a lot,
mhm,
I'm up on the rules. When we sign a waiver for SCA, right?
mhm,
We release the permission of appearing in group photos,
mhm,
but if it is a portrait of one individual,
mhm.
then and nothing else, then the model must submit. If it's
Yes.
published, that the model must submit the model release form, which is online now. And if it's being published, it's published in either in Triskel or in the what's the other name publication. It's
Tailwinds.
yes.
Tailwinds.
It, mhm. Then the photographer also needs to fill out the release form.
Mhm.
Uh, the posting of the pictures you personally took online is considered, a you releasing them.
Yes.
If it's
As the
posting a picture.
photographer. Yeah.
So
Okay.
what other things can officers do to improve retention?
One of the things that I've been thinking about since this question came up is because we had a huge group 25 years ago. Um, we and this kind of goes with the phone and the social media thing. Those things didn't exist 25 years ago.
Hmm.
We made phone calls. We called everybody. If
Mhm.
somebody we hadn't seen maybe in a few weeks, we called them. Hey, what's up? Do you need a ride? What's going on? You want to come over for sewing? We're doing embroidery one night. As officers, we did that. And as the seneschal, I made an extra effort to make sure people were getting person time, not computer time, because we didn't have computers then. I mean, we did, but not people didn't have them in their homes
Or in their pockets.
or
Yeah.
in their pockets. That was something I noticed when I first started thinking about coming back to the SCA. I started like really looking online at everything, and I did see a lot. Not only did I see a lot of material, I saw a lot of people with cell phones in pictures, and that was kind of like when I went to my first rock concert after 20 years and I went to go flick my Bic and everybody was lighting up their flashlights on their cell phone. I was like, oh my God,
Mhm.
everything's changed.
Yes, very definitely.
Mhm.
Um,
So,
there,
like, person to person is kind of a big thing. It's that human connection. It
yeah,
takes you away from the mundane because the
it,
mundane is all about technology now.
yeah, well, I agree. That's true. There are some things that we used to do back then. Uh, we had mostly in-person meetings, and people showed up, and we had a sign-in list, and people put their phone numbers and their emails on it and their mundane and regular names, so we knew that information. We have gotten out of the habit of that. Part of it is because of the pandemic, everything went online. And for convenience and for other reasons, such as for those of us who are always had multiple meetings to go to at Kingdom events, those have all gone to online now so that we can spend more time in the moment with other people at events. But we also are not able to get the information now that we used to get when we had in person events. And we can't get that information from the national membership uh, information. So we need to figure out how to get that information again because it's up to somebody to give it to us and give us permission to use it.
Well, we got through 5 questions in 1 hour, which is pretty good, I think. Um, so how do you feel about this process? Do you think it's something that we should continue, perhaps, and continue to invite more people to come participate in?
I think that will depend on if we can get people to participate. I did have some conversation with through email with the Raven from Sea March because I said we missed her at the last couple of events.
Mhm.
And the reason I brought up part of this thing about the the SCA isn't what it used to be. This was one of the terms that she used in her response. And I told her we missed her. You know, it was would have been we would have liked to have heard from her in her own words. You know, about things and her opinion of things. But uh, you know, beyond that, I can't. None of us can force her to come and express her views, and they express the views from her group. And uh, I've made an effort, but I can't force someone to come back and
I
help
think
us.
I think I think the value of doing this kind of thing
Mhm.
is that by creating an open forum for us to come and talk and explore and even vent our frustrations, by having an open forum, it gives anybody an opportunity to come and join or share or be involved. Uh, I see a value overall.
Um, I think one thing I'd like to kind of, yes, I agree that there's a value overall because it helps us understand that we're not the only ones having the same problem. The question is, how do we solve some of these problems? We could ask our chatelaine when they talk to someone new who's contacted the group on Facebook to see if the person will give their personal information for us to contact other ways than on Facebook. We've had a lot of people who've contacted us, they're interested. We've gotten our chatelaine in touch with them, and you know, and she'll send them, invites, and they just fall off the thing. And there comes a point, it's like, do they want me to keep bugging them? At which point am I bugging them? And you would think that if they weren't interested, that they would take themselves off the list, but they don't. There is a point where, and this is something that we all need to think about, is how are we going to get that participation when everyone is online? The only place we're meeting these people are at our events, at demos and that kind of thing, when we're having that first. And if you're getting that, and you've even said, when you've gotten all these lists of people who say they're interested in, what percentage do you think you're really getting when, even when you have that information, who are actually joining you?
Yeah, because the ultimate test is, do they show up?
Yes.
You know.
And at which point do you figure that, well, obviously they're not interested in, you know, uh, I mean, a lot of what Kelly says is true about back in the day. I mean, Trios, I can remember Trios back in the day. We had 35 people and 40 people at meetings. I can remember when Sea March was like that.
Yep.
But what I hear now is nobody shows up except a few officers, and we have the same thing at our meetings. A lot of them are just officers that show up.
Hmm. Well, I
So
think I
what's
think
happening now that what's happening now that isn't working that maybe we can bring back some of the old ways?
Well, I have our meetings where I'm always giving people an option. I have a location, and we have a virtual for people who can't get there because of jobs in time to be there in person. And most of them are opting to show up online, not in person.
because time in life.
Right.
Yes.
I have a lot of people from last SuperCon last year that have said they want to come and they want to do, but
Mm-hmm.
they just time in life get in the way.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it
Yeah.
happens to all of us. It's just there are complications. We have so much technology now that we can participate on to make things easier for people, but there's also the fact that that technology keeps us from actually being together and interacting.
So Kelly,
Right.
to answer your question, I'm thinking that one thing we need to get back to doing
Mhm.
is having the face-to-face gatherings,
I agree.
having the
I
open
agree.
open meetings or dinners or so it's not just a fighter practice, but
Mhm.
we're having those gatherings where we can actually build relationships.
Mhm.
Because
I
usually
love that.
yeah, because when we're getting together to do the thing, usually we're so busy doing the thing, we're really not getting to know each other.
Mhm.
Right.
So the little local revels were always good for that. The potluck, to
Yes.
get together at a pavilion at a park,
Hmm.
and bring, something to everyone, bring something to eat.
Hmm.
And if anyone has like a party room at the community they live in that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg to get, doing something at a place like that, because a lot of people used to do that too.
Mhm.
I've done things in my house for years. I don't care about having a ton of people come over,
Mhm.
but there are other people who don't want that. So it really depends on what. But I think the in person is important. I agree with Kelly there.
Well, I'm going to wrap things up. Let me stop recording. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and I think we can continue to do this on a monthly